Hello everyone, Kenji Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in the Last Caretaker. So we are sitting here right at the edge of Exodus Station. So I came in here last night, so this was the conclusion of the other one. We were en route to Exodus Station, and I discovered there were some problems. So on the plus side, I reviewed the power coming from this end to here, and it was working fine. When I looked, when we first arrived, I still had power over here, so that part worked. So what I had done was gone through and changed all of the cable lengths down to 19 meters. Put down the extender and then went onward. And then I reloaded this morning, and now there's no power there again. So it seems like that particular bug is still doing what it's doing. I had to make some changes. So things that were not expected, cable links coming loose and all that sort of thing. But ultimately, this part actually has worked really well. All right, excuse me there. Morning sneezing, I guess. So, the problems here, I hooked up, so this is hookups. So this is this round platform that is just basically after the gantry, so on the outboard side of the gantry, and this portion of it worked really well. So one of the nice things is we took on petrol here, so I guess what I could do, yeah, I did. Well, that didn't work out. Not sure why. So there's two tanks above, as we saw on the tour. And then the one tank down here. There are 4 tanks on the ship proper, the boat. So theoretically, we should be. So that was equalizing. I had set this one as input, but for whatever reason, it decided nope, we're not doing that. So we'll set that to equalize. Not sure why any particular one of them would matter, but this is working. So, and it's been pretty consistent. If you do it on the input of a tank, then it will actually do what you anticipate it doing. So, not sure why it doesn't do that. But, and I did the same thing over here. So the idea was this one inputs, takes all of the material from the tanks, and pushes them into this tank anyway, and then this one has an output which then pushes it to the tanks up above, and there's 6 tanks up there. So this worked out really well, because oil is oil, you're never actually going to pull it down. So this really was a workable thing. So here's the plan for today. I really want to establish this as the main dock. So down here was kind of the oil dock. It works. There's all of that. So this does indeed serve its function. But the downside here is that on this beam that goes all the way up is a ladder, and that goes into the catwalk that's underneath, and that's it. So you end up having to track quite a bit to get up to that end, to the main platform, which is really not convenient. So what I want to do is set up the main docking area, which this is kind of where you come in when you first get here. So what I want to do is, you've got this kind of entrance building, reception building, and that to me is the most logical thing. Now that they are all technically interconnected, I still have to figure out what the power issue is here. My guess is just cables coming loose, which is frustrating because yeah, in my mind, when you put them down, they shouldn't do that. But that's part of any game that, I mean, the game now is 9 days after release. Overall a really good game. I've had a lot of fun with it, but growing pains for any game. You take something that is dynamic as the pipes and hoses and cables and everything. They've really done a pretty magnificent job in making everything work, and as to be expected with a brand new game, there are oopses, there are hiccups. So excuse me just a minute. Alright. Okay, so got a couple house cleaning items, no pun intended. Oh, that's not where so I'm going to go up here. So we have done a couple things off camera here. I have made a bunch of, let me just go into inventory. I've made a bunch of hose. So the idea is, I don't know how much I need, so we're really stringing oil cable all the way up there. I thought maybe I should string, and maybe I will, string petrol out there as well, because then, petrol is really what I use. So petrol is what is needed here on this platform, and that is by virtue of, I need the CO2 to run the saboteur generator, saboteur reactor, which will then create my methane and oxygen. Now we do have an alternate oxygen method because there's a small oxygen generator, but the saboteur reactor does both. So it's basically one machine that does everything you need. My guess is they have changed things, but the way with the ports, the 2 oxygen ports pulled off, the 2 out of 4, then when the oxygen fills up, it will still create methane. So from that perspective, it seems to be working fine. But like we saw yesterday on the oil platform, the Black Vein platform, Black Vein Station, I'll get it right eventually. The distillation tower now outputs either or. So it's good from the perspective of, sometimes you need that because you're not using those outputs proportionally. On the other side of it is not entirely realistic, because how can you just stop the production of one and maintain the production of the other? So it's kind of weird, but so the other thing I did was, I have the sniper rifle here up on the deck now, mostly because it's just, I'm only going to use it when I'm up here on the deck. So yeah, I won't actually go into that, because that might be spoilers for everyone who's watching out there. So what I do need to do here is, I'm going to see if I can, yeah, there we go. What I tend to do when I get to these facilities that I come back to often is I get rid of the mines. Now, allegedly, you can go and grind them down and do that successfully as long as you don't touch the triggers, which are those orange, the red spikes that are coming out of them. Those are the detonators. So as long as you don't touch the detonators, you're fine. Don't know if that's true. You can get good materials from them, which, okay, is great, but there's a bit of satisfaction from just shooting them. So I have the rods in here now. So what I want to do is F Foxtrot for switching ammo. I do have other ammo in here conveniently. So the Lux is a smaller round, but it's still a high velocity round. So we're in fairly stable seas, so hopefully I'm not a moron and can actually shoot this. There's one. We've got another one over here, which I think is the last one. Right click to come out of your sight. We're going to do an F to switch ammo once again. So the sniper rods are really that high power, hitting something with a truck kind of a thing. So that's the whole idea behind those. I have very rarely have I seen that not take down like Angels in 3 rounds, 3 good hits, and the Angel is down. Sometimes the 4th, but at the point where they really do need a 4th round, they be hurting. You can see there are all kinds of on fire and great big giant flaming holes and everything. So they're hurting. They can still shoot though, I think the big white ball is called Big Red. I've heard a couple people refer to it as Big Red. If that's the case, those are the same. So those usually go down in 3 hits, but maybe 4. But if you get to 4, they're hurting. Okay, so that pretty much took out, I think, all the last of the... We'll go over here and a bit. So this was the one of the discussion topics here for Exodus Station is, so every time you launch a rocket, the humans send down a landing pod, a drop pod. And this is what the drop pods look like. So they come down, they hit in the ocean. Now the downside is you start collecting a lot of drop pods around Exodus Station, and it is really hard to tell which ones you've gone to and which ones you haven't. So it's kind of problematic, and they're only visible by proximity. So there's actually 3 of them out here in this side that I cannot see right now because of the visibility. So, which is to say they're not rezzed in. So you can see the one over here, which was a previous one. So on the good side here, let's go to the map for just a moment. We're going to reset the view, which will center it on us, and you can see these 2 guys. Now, the downside here is they say new even when you've gone to them. So this one says new drop pod, new drop pod. So even though I've been to both of these, they stay new. So the downside is now, right now on the map, the other ones do not show, which means maybe they have indeed de-rezzed completely. They were empty. But, so I think I sent up my 6th, maybe 5th rocket. 3, 4, 5, 6. It should have been my 6th rocket, which was the last series. I don't know why they're randomly disappearing. I hope that over time they will kind of turn them into the same or similar methodology as the buoy, where you take the loot contents or contents out of the buoy, and then the buoy sinks. And what would really be neat is if you could actually grind the buoys down for other materials. I mean, that would be a whole lot of metal, probably, you know, a little battery of some kind. So the drop pods, I think, would be similar. Don't know. I mean, it would just be kind of neat, a neat source of resources that, by being able to take the resources, you would at least get rid of it, which is to say it's no longer on the map as a drop pod. Or perhaps they will fix it to the point where at least it will not say new, even though you have been there. So hopefully in time they will figure all that out. The downside is, if you remember what things were on the map, then it makes it a bit easier. But when you just get a bunch of these littered around, it's really kind of hard to understand, to figure out, you know, what you visited and what you haven't. You know, maybe just as simple as, again, just like the buoy has a little beacon on it, a little flash on it that is flashing green. So, in fact, let me, come on, how do we go? There is a buoy over here. So we'll see. It's a bit harder to see, but you can see there's a flash on it. There it is. It's far enough away that it's really hard to see, but it's a little tiny green flash. So when you take the materials out of there, that goes to a solid red. You have 5 or 10 seconds maybe before it sinks, and it literally sinks. So I actually followed one of these down. I was at Norfolk Grave, and one of them rezzed in, and I took all the stuff and followed it all the way down, and it goes down to the bottom. So I don't know if they stay there or they ultimately derez. I would think just to get rid of clutter in the game that the game engine has to deal with, it would eventually derez those, I would think. Don't know if that's true or not, because otherwise you might end up with a whole lot of buoys laying on the bottom over time, which the game engine ultimately would have to deal with. So drop pods, that's what they look like. There is a lot of loot in there, so that is your reward for sending up rockets. Alright, so the goal, we accomplished one goal, but the ultimate goal here is we want to string our cable, which is to say the hose for oil, possibly petrol, along this catwalk all the way to the entrance station, and then make it convenient to dock at the receiving station, and be able to put our light oil, into the station here. So on the good side, I have successfully dropped off the oil, as well as I've taken the petrol and gotten it onto, is that 100%? Gotten the petrol onto the platform here, which will then leave us to 2,000. Yeah, so we're good there. So for this one, because that one is done, we're going to grab the fuel cable, which is E. We're going to do a Q because we can reel that one in. That one, I've only got the one connector on there because I really don't do petrol to anywhere very often. So this is kind of unique. This is the oil one, which we are now done with oil here, so I can pull that off. So the only change I made here when I came in was these were actually over here, and I think I just kind of put them here at random because I did not have my boat here. So it was kind of like, okay, where am I going to put these? So let's put them over here. And then as it turns out, the way I've got the boat set up here is everything here on the bow, port and starboard. So convenient hookups because, you know, as I've gone to different platforms, I've just got them set up. So now it's just a matter of, you know, docking the ship to the correct place. So at this point, it's whether we start out at the center station here, leave the ship docked here for a little while, which I think we will, and then you know, really string everything out. So let's go over the inventory here. I do need to drop the weapon off, which yeah, the laggy. So we'll get the weapon put away. So I put the weapon here on the deck. So that one's in. I'm hoping eventually they will have all the inventories to the point where you will have your action bar and equipment and everything, and the inventory and the container inventory. Because at this point, when you go into the container thinking, okay, yeah, I'm going to put the weapon away, you don't actually get your holster. Excuse me. Clearly a coffee morning, speaking of. This is a downside to recording first thing in the morning, is my voice, of course, is, you know, everybody's voice is much deeper in the morning, and have not infused the proper amount of coffee yet. So caffeine is my friend. Alright, so we need to pull this out, which is to say put that one back in. Thankfully this is already full, and my backpack for the fuel is already full. I don't believe I will need it for anything because this station is really long cleared. E to go into the Fortohold, Q to dump that one in, and okay, I already put the ammo away. So what I did was I did a spattering here. So normally I use the rods when I'm really after something serious, because they pack one heck of a punch at a kilogram. That's something. And then the Lux is, so it says superior penetration, but I've really found when I'm, like, for example, taking on the sharks, it takes like 5 or 6 of the Lux, and it takes like 3 or 4 of the sniper rods. So yeah. All right, so we'll put that away. We'll go back into that because that's where we were going. So like I said, I built I made a bunch of hose for the fuel. I grabbed 45, 48. So you need iron and plastic to make the extenders. So thankfully, all 4 of the extender types, all you need is iron and plastic. So that's true even of the electric one. So the electric one does not need copper, which is, I mean, I think they did that on purpose just to kind of simplify, you know, cable management a bit. So anyway, the idea here is as long as I have less than 48 extenders, then I am okay. So I have 413 meters of hose, which is a good thing. All right, so we'll go over here. So this one is interconnected. We're not pushing it up because there's only 2 tanks above decks there. We've got 4 tanks here, which I suppose I really should start that particular generator. So we'll go do that real quick because that way it will run through, and it will run through this whole mess, and then I will have to collect more. Alright, so proves my OCD here. I'm off on a tangent. This will go really quickly. But it is 200 liters, and that's why I set them here. Before it pops off. Here it is. Alright, so we grab the cable, Q. We'll go ahead and grind this one down. Now, unfortunately, this is not the perpetual motion engine. So you get 2 metal scraps back from those things. It will cost you far more than that when you're making them. So just keep that in mind. So we're just going to put these in here so I'm not carrying them around. I'm not going to turn them on at the moment. So just to have the example here, we'll go in here and we'll see what this looks like. So this is the small petrol container, which is exactly what I just used there. What you can see is storage cylinder and connector parts. They're all basically the same thing. So whether it be the diesel, the electric, with battery cell, which kind of makes sense. And then this is back to the storage cylinder ports. You've got a freshwater one here as well, which is all the same. So one of the discussion topics, to derail here, one of the discussion topics is there are in fact technically 3 containers missing. So you can't haul salt water around, which would you ever need to? And I think the answer to that is no. There's no way to haul CO2 around, and there is no CO2 tank, which is to say tank like this. So we have the small, and then we have a water tank, right? So same thing, we have the oil tank, or probably better example is we have the petrol tank and the diesel tank. We have the petrol cylinder and the diesel cylinder, right? We have a medium battery and we have a small battery, right? So we have the equivalents of those. What we do not have is a CO2 tank, which means we have to generate whatever CO2 we need in some way right there. And I have chosen to use the small electric generator because it works. It appears to produce enough CO2 to do everything that I need up there. So why not? We use it. We've really got no other economical means. So you could create and capture CO2 here on the ship, here on the boat. So you have the port for that. Let me exit here. Kind of hard to see with I've got the water tank in the way. But you do have this port right here for CO2. So carbon dioxide output. So presumably you could put the Saboteur reactor on the vessel, and I don't know that that's true. I would think you could if they have the carbon dioxide output here. And then store your oxygen. The downside is we're missing, so we have oxygen. We can make the oxygen bottles. We can make the big oxygen tanks. I mean, where the heck are you going to put them on your vessel here, on your boat? So they are pretty big. I've seen people who bolt them on where I've got my diesel tanks. So they just bolt them onto the bulkhead there, aft, and hook in. I do all my oxygen production on the platform here, so don't know. The Saboteur reactor is up there. There's a ready water source, so why not? So I do that up there. In fact, the Saboteur reactor, they give it to you. You have to repair it, but they do give it to you. So for what that's worth. So you can't bottle CO2 and you can't bottle methane. So production on the ship, great, fine and dandy, but you can't store either one of those and you can't transport it. So how do we get it off the ship? So my guess is what a lot of people have done is actually string the gas lines all the way down. And then basically they have their tanks right here on the ship, which can remain generating as they go. And then they just hook those connections in, boom, right to the rocket. So obviously there's 100,000 different ways to make things work. In my case, I've just done everything up on that platform, and I have finally now gotten to the point where I can successfully bring oil from the Black Vein station down, which is what I really wanted to demonstrate. really wanted to accomplish. So we have indeed done that. So now is the matter to make it a little bit more convenient. We could have pulled petrol off before. That was already set up on the ship by virtue of this here. And of course, I talked about doing something and then never did it. So we put the petrol in, and let's go ahead and turn on the little petrol generator here. Alright, so that is right now full. By the time we get back, it will be not full. Alright, so we'll review last time. So we have 400, now 13 of our hose. We have the capability of building 45 extenders. I am going to try to save. We've accomplished a few things in between saves, so let's see what happens here. So whatever they did in the background to fix going from 1408, version 1408 to version 1999 really did improve a lot of things. I have seen far less crashes. Probably ironically, this particular machine, this is my older gaming machine, desktop. So this is actually, built PC here, not a laptop. And this one has been much more problematic, much more prone to crashes. So as you guys saw in the last episode, we did quite a few crashes. 9 out of 10 of them as we were trying to save the game. So for what that's worth. Alright, so we're going to head up. We are unfortunately a bit over encumbered between the plastic iron and all of those hoses. But this is unfortunately the only way to get up. The only thing I could do is actually move the ship, which ultimately we're going to need to do. So whether we do it now or do it later, ultimately we're going to have to do that. So at this point it was just a matter of we want to get back onto the platform and then really do some strategy thinking about how we're going to run. So this is how how I brought them up. Presumably these are still running. Still okay. This might be a problem because I am a bit over encumbered. May or may not successfully get across here. I don't know. That was a bit grinding. So what I have, so spacebar is jump. I have a gamepad also. Well, sorry, I better not call it a gamepad. It's an auxiliary keyboard, like a miniature keyboard that I have off the side. So I'm a bit ambidextrous. So when I'm like building construction like that, I grew up doing construction. I could hammer nails with either hand. I could do sanding with either hand. It was really kind of strange. But when it comes to writing, like the fine control that you need on your hand for writing, I'm a lefty. I suppose I could get away with saying I am left-hand dominant, because there's a lot of things that I'm actually more skilled. The fine point control on my left hand. I was pianist when I was growing up. I did church piano stuff for a while, and I actually have better hand-eye music coordination on my right hand. So it's kind of those strange things. But when I was in the classroom, whatever classroom it happened to be, and was teaching and lecturing, I really threw students off by way of I'm writing on the chalkboard or whiteboard with either hand. And it really screwed people up because they'd be watching me write something with left hand and then I'd shift to my right hand because I'm facing the other direction. So if you've ever done speech class, you're always looking at your audience, right? So if I'm writing, you inherently, when you're writing on a whiteboard or chalkboard, in the olden days, chalkboard, I think it's all whiteboard now. Now it's electronic boards, but you are inherently back to your audience, which you're never supposed to talk. Proper etiquette for speech is you never talk with your back to the audience, whatever that audience happens to be. But in the case of a classroom and a whiteboard, you really don't have a whole lot of choice. So the idea is that you are facing as much of the audience as you can, which means whichever direction you're facing, you're using that opposite hand to do whatever it is on the chalkboard, whiteboard. All right, up the stairs. Babble my old life. So probably, as I babble about all the different things I've done in my lifetime, most everyone is saying that this can't be real. I have always been goal oriented. So even from the time I was, 10, 11, I knew I had some ideas of what I wanted to do with my life. All the different goals I wanted to accomplish. So here's my oil tanks up here. So as I grew up, I actually did accomplish a lot of those goals. As a 6-year-old, I wanted to drive a bus. Not sure how I came up with that one, but I wanted to drive a bus. And you know what? I did. I got my license and I drove buses. Which really is to say I got my commercial Class A license, so I could drive semis. And you have your passenger endorsement on that. So it was really a Class A license that you inherently have a Class B license with a Class A. But having a passenger certification on it means you can actually legitimately drive buses. Not all states have a passenger endorsement, but most of them do. All right, so here's the 6 oil tanks up here. We have the diesel tanks right here, which are right now empty because they were just literally put in. And these are the 2 petrol tanks. Here is the distillation tower, which is turned off right now because there was not any oil. Oh, and it's on. I have no idea why it's not doing anything, because by the example of the other one, it should be running and producing diesel. Alright, so here's what we have to do. We have to figure out how to get the oil line from here to the station over here, which is to say the entry station. So this is, see, and this is the kind of thing that's really frustrating, is, you plug things in and they come loose. So it's almost like you set things up and you have to come back and police. So this is the diesel that goes over to the fabricator, and this comes loose every time. It's a straight shot. It's less than 20 meters by a bit, so I'm really not sure. Well, let's test that. Maybe I am not that one. Maybe the one I'm pointing at. Okay, so it says 10 meters, 9 meters, so this should not be coming loose. And maybe it's just part of the interaction, because obviously this is interacting with every single frickin' cable right here. Electric twice, the oxygen line, the methane line. Yeah, I think that's the methane, oxygen, and obviously the water line here. So this is my fresh water. So don't know why it's doing that. So ultimately, we will have to bring the oil line around somehow. And ultimately, so this is the electric line here that comes from the station. So there's a couple batteries up here as well. I think I've got 6 batteries out here. And so they are now augmenting everything. There are 2 solar panels up there, LumiMax solar panels up there that are originally they were just to provide, power to that end. So ultimately, we have to kind of follow the same trek all the way down using this catwalk because you cannot bolt anything to this, which is unfortunate. Another discussion topic is the ability to install permanent piping onto platforms like this. And I think it would be a great idea. I understand the game mechanics that they want to challenge the player. You are overcoming some problem, right? I totally get that. But late game or even mid game, where you could perhaps repair a piping system, how hard would it be in real life? What we would do is we have a facility like this, and we would literally bolt on straps and put in pipes and conduit. That easy. Would it be a lot of work? Yeah, but you've got this entire stretch of tram. You've got the frame, the structural frame, this bridge. It would be piece of cake to weld on, the standardized railing, and then put conduit in. Every 10 feet, weld something on. Every 3 meters for those of you who are metric. Weld on the rail, put on your clamps, and off you go. And everything you need. You put on a meter wide piece of rail, and you've got all kinds of expansion for the future. So yeah. So, realistically, why wouldn't they have done that? Why wouldn't a facility this size be wired in? And I understand this is about game challenging. Got it. But late game, it would just make things easier. Plus, if I had plumbing, especially if it were universal, where I could, literally, 2 or 3. I would be happy with 2, but it would be nice to have 3, which would be my oil, diesel, and because it would be nice to basically, in this case, I'm producing diesel here because of the distillation tower, but I have no use for it. So it would be nice to be able to get that to the boat, because I need it on the boat. So being able to get it to the boat reasonably and economically would be great. The downside is I do need petrol here, which now I have the means to create petrol. The downside of creating the petrol with the distillation tower is it's at a 10-to-1, which is really to say it produces petrol very, very slowly comparative to diesel. And then ultimately we need the petrol to run the generator, which is to say the electric generator, this guy here, which is producing my carbon dioxide. So this is the long way around to producing carbon dioxide, which is really, say, the long way around to produce methane, which is actually what I need. So if we had a means to transport carbon dioxide, as people have asked for, it would simplify things a lot. If we had the means to actually package oil as we do diesel and petrol, that would simplify things an awful lot as well, because then I could carry, I could set up in advance, 2 or 3 Fortiholds, which would be 20 small tanks, which are 200 liters each, which means that's my 6 tanks. if I did 3 4 holds of oil, that's 6 tanks. So carry those guys. Obviously I have to do it one at a time, so I carry them off the boat onto the elevator over here, up to the roof, onto the tram. So I have to do all those transfers. So basically transfer from the boat to the first elevator, 3 4 holds, which are heavy, so they do take time, or 6 always forget what those are, those intermediate ones. Okay, I'm gonna have to look, sorry. Store tight, yeah. So the store tight is 100 kilograms, which means 10 bottles. I'll call them bottles. They're these guys, these small, which is to say, okay, you can't actually, so you can create the small battery. You cannot create the petrol or diesel containers, or the oxygen containers or freshwater containers for that matter. You can't do those on person because you have no way to hook up to those resources. So those have to be done in the fabricator. But the concept here and the point I'm trying to make is you make 10 of these, those particular types, petrol, diesel, whatever, you make 10, you can actually put them in one of these store tights, and you can carry the store tight really easy. It doesn't totally over encumber you. This 4 to hold is if you can pick it up at all. If you've got 200 kilograms in it plus the box, you can't pick it up. You can shove it along the ground, but you cannot pick it up without putting a whole lot. Maybe if you maxed out your hydraulic, you could pick it up, but I cannot pick it up. I think I've got like 60 in hydraulic or something like that. So let's look, just for fun. Improved hydraulics 25. So I didn't put much into it. So my goal here with this one was I can pick up the large crates and throw them into the recycler. Now, there was another guy who did a video on the comparative between, I know I'm totally off track here, did a comparative between how to get the most experience points. So you get a certain amount of experience points by just chucking things into the recycler, right? You ultimately get experience points for the materials that you get out of the recycler. However much material there, you get points for it. You get literally 1 experience point for every piece of material. So if you get a stack of 5, that's 5 experience points, blah, 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 blah. So if you use your grinder, your dismantling tool, to dismantle things, you get experience points for every item you dismantle, which is to say, if you get 3 metal scrap, you get 3 experience points for that. So by the time you're done, if you chuck something in to the recycler and that happens to have, I don't know if there's anything in the game that has 3 metal scraps that will translate into X number of metal scraps. It is a bit random, not entirely, but it's not necessarily a 3 for 3. So you might put in 3 metal scraps and get 4. So it is a bit random, but it's, you get these materials, but the quantity of the materials, there is, as far as I can tell, a random portion to that. So in this case, you chuck it in there, you have not disassembled it, so you're not getting those experience points, so you just get experience points for the materials. If you dismantle it, you're getting experience points for the scrap. Then you throw the scrap into the recycler, then you pick up the materials, and you now get points for the materials, which means you get points for scrapping, you get points for materials. So you will actually get more experience points by scrapping everything with your dismantling tool than you will by just chucking it into the recycler. So keep that in mind. For those of you who are OCD pack rat inclined, like myself, definitely the way to progress through. I progressed through levels frighteningly fast. I a lot faster than I was expecting. So to put that in perspective, we all played the demo, I would guess. I played the demo a bunch of times, and of course, the demo was capped at level 3. I figured it when I get the full release game, whether I buy it or get invited to participate, which thankfully I was. It was awesome to be invited to play the game ahead of time. I started over for the sake of I think I will very likely be at level 6, maybe level 7, just by clearing out Sanctuary like I pretty much always did. I was wrong. I actually got to 8. I literally unlocked the medium batteries before I ever left Sanctuary. So I was really on my way to a lot of things. And of course, like I've said before, if it's not bolted down, I scrap it. So I literally cleared the level, including the cyclones and the Lumi mids on the roof. Pulled down all the electric cable. I took it all. So eventually I built most of that back. But so anyway, experience points. Definitely, if you're playing the game to get to max experience, then I went through the skills, and only really unlocked the things that I thought I would really use. I had not originally unlocked the diesel engine cylinder, for example. I did unlock the boosters, but I never had originally unlocked this. I did unlock the electric because I did run on electric for a little while. Never unlocked the small battery. You get a lot of these, but never unlocked the basic standing light. So just never had a need for any of those. Never unlocked the bolt pistol. So, but basically you get to the end and you've got a bunch of points with nothing less. So you can see here. So you get down to level 21, you unlock these two, and then you're kind of like, okay, what else do I need to unlock? So you have a bunch of points, and in this case, level 25 is where you stop, and you can unlock everything in the game and have 11 points left by unlocking everything. So I think there's a lot of flexibility in the future there as they add more and more items into the game, and I'm absolutely convinced that they will. You'll have other things that you can do. I have not built the Eclipse, mostly because high power consumption is putting it mildly. On the other side of that is you literally turn your Eclipse on with the slugs in front of you, and they just go pop, and they're done. So that's kind of nice. So anyway. That's the example here, is that you can literally unlock everything available within the skills menu, the skills tree, and have points left over, as it is. Enhancers, of course, that's not the case. You really do have to be judicious in where you spend your points. There's a lot of videos out there on what enhancements you should do to do what. So I won't belabor that one. There's a lot of flexibility there. Obviously, you've got these eight categories right now. I'm sure there will be others. I am really truly hoping you will have a couple ship, boat enhancers available, such as the battery on the boat, such as the diesel tank on the boat. Those kinds of things. I hope they will incorporate those later, or at least have an upgrade path for your boat. The boat's a little boring, and I'll say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, because your boat is extremely adequate for what you're doing. So for the starter boat, it's absolutely awesome. You can do an awful. I mean, I've done the boat tour a couple times. You can see what the heck I did. There's really a lot of things that you can do on your boat. You can get infinitely creative. There's people who have put oxygen tanks underneath the hull of the boat and travel through the water. I don't know if that creates any friction or anything like that going through the water. Obviously, it would in real life, but in the game, I don't know if that really calculates into it. I found with those 6 tanks of oil on the front of the boat, going through the heavy seas was a whole lot smoother. I was not, dancing up and down and all that sort of thing. So that's a good thing. So how it does the weight distribution is pretty cool. All right. So what do we need to do? We need to figure out how to get oil ultimately. It would be nice to bring petrol, and I may do that. But the goal here, now that I've been babbling quite a bit, the goal is to get oil up to here. So let's start. Now I suppose I could do a bit of pre-planning. So this is the B menu. We're going to build here. What I'm going to do is put 2 of these down, and what I mean by that is I am literally pre-planning for, I'm going to put oil and petrol. So I might as well, because I know that's going to happen, I might as well do it. This is unfortunate, but I'm going to have to do my spinny thing. So B to get back into the menu. So this is a spin to get them somewhat aligned. E to paste that in there. So as I understand things, the reason that, all right, so So the reason they have so many things tied to a single keybind is because of game controller, right? Because game controllers only have so many buttons. I get that. But for those who don't use a game controller, and I know they're trying to not limit things, they're limiting things. So what I'm going to have to do here is, because these have to be a certain distance apart, it's going to make it that much harder to paste. But I have to be up here to paste. Oh, this is so laggy. So do the E, and hopefully, I think I can. Nope. See, and this is the frustrating part of building that most developers don't fully appreciate, which is really to say the programmers are the programmers, the developers are the developers, the level designers are the level designers, but they don't actually play. and realize these are some of the handicaps that they create in the game. So Q to get rid of that. So I literally need to grind this and put it a little farther out. So because of the keybind, I can't build one on the other side of that. Now, if I had, you know, like a Fortihold or something that I could put on the ground over here, then yeah, I could do that. But in this case, I'm having to be a little creative. So I've got to put that one out maybe a bit farther, which means I need to align it because we don't have a grid system yet. I hope we will eventually have a grid system. So there's that. Alright, and then we get our green, so we'll do that. Okay, Q to get rid of that. We should be able to, so there's 7 to turn that off. E to put the cable on. So we'll grab the first one first. And we will creatively stack these, which is to say we will get them, so let me straighten this up. So you can go diagonally and get them quite a bit closer. So I'm gonna do that. There we go. I think I've got the that one, yeah. Which will go, I think, right there. Connect the fuel. Okay. So Q to turn that off, and we'll do the exact same thing again. This end is easy, getting the other end up to where we can actually get it in the building is going to be a little more problematic. But I really just wanted to get it onto the ground over here. Alright, walk up onto the wall and then get the correct thing. Go in there, jump off again here. Connect into the right one here. Alright. And then ultimately we end up over here on the platform and put these over here. So I guess we will do that. Now, which one is what? It probably doesn't really matter at this point. So what I'm just going to do is come over with the first one and so fabricate. We can only get so close, and we'll put the other one in the center. So that's as close as I can go here. We'll back off a step. Q to get rid of the thing and attach. The other one we're going to try and put here. I might have just screwed myself by not giving myself enough room, but we'll try. Yeah, so this one, so I'm trying to keep them at least so you can follow what it is, because they're all the same color, hey. So this one, if we can make it right in the middle, I'm hoping. Yeah, it will let me. So as close as I can get it here, there we go. Q to turn off the shadow. It builds, connect. So those are my two. So even though these hoses are really close together, I can still pretty much identify what it is. So what I try to do is never cross over. The idea behind that is just so I won't get confused as you're tracing them out. So as long as they are one color, then you kind of have to, you know, deal with what you got. Okay, so the idea is we now have the 2 coming down and the 2 going forward. Now it's just a matter of rolling them out here. So we're going to do the outside one first. It's arbitrary. So in this case, the cable. Connect on the fuel cable down to the bottom. Why am I putting the extenders right here at the bottom of the staircase? So, there it is. Fabricate. Good, it does eventually let me do that. Key to turn that off. So, cable management OCD. So, I could, in fact, just string along, and then these would raise up because Pythagorean theorem is Pythagorean theorem. So if I start up here and come down, now we have an angle with these cables stretched out into the air. Whereas with the cable extenders down here at the bottom of the staircase, doesn't matter at the top because that's your pivot point up there. Putting the cable extenders down here brings them all the way down, and now you're flat on the catwalk. So that's why I do that. And other OCD builders, I'm sure, do about the same thing. All right, so one of the things we learned is to make sure we don't go beyond 19 meters. So what I'm going to do is kind of match this just to keep things in the realm of symmetry. That one. All right, I'm gonna connect that one in, even though I think that's gonna give me trouble. I think it's this electric one. So what I'm gonna do is grab the electric cable, and that will res in. Then I put the electric cable back. So a lot of times things are close enough that it will let you paste it in, but it won't actually res. So little tricks that you learn as you build. So you're literally taking up the entire catwalk with all these. So being able to like put pipes, and I think people actually have put pipes onto these things and strung them along the way, and it works. So they hang down a little bit, but I think people actually have. So let's try, just for fun. So if anything, I would put the electric up here. Oh, I saw something somewhere. I saw it go green. So it can go green up there. I don't know if that's particularly useful. Maybe they've changed some things up. I don't know. All right, connect. Run. And again, I'm using my electric as my example, and there's the symmetry to it, as well as the fact that I know the electric works. So if I know the electric works, then why? I don't need to reinvent the wheel. It works. Nope, I shouldn't have turned that one off. So let's re-grab the cable, which will give me my fabricate, and we'll put that. This time it's just far enough away from the electrical cable, but if I had connected the fuel cable, it would not have been so kind. Alright, we'll run this back. Now, obviously doing these both at the same time does cost you time, no pun intended there, but you get it done. So running one is really about the figuring out how to do it. So if I'm running two at the same time, I'm figuring out how to do both at the same time, so why not? Obviously running two, you're running twice the cable, so you're going to go through your cable a lot faster. I only had 413 or something like that, so check my inventory, see where I'm at. Alright, so we're down to 29, and we're actually doing pretty decent on our cable, fuel hose. So we're down to 249, but we've only got 29 left. So I've got a couple more iron than I do plastics, but ultimately, you know, we're creating two at a time. So okay, we're doing good. So far so good. So I guess I am at the hour point, in fact over, which is pretty notorious for that, right? So we'll go ahead and chop here and go right into the next episode from here. So this is Kenty Tiger signing off. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.